Good morning, everyone. If we could go ahead and take our seats, we'll get started. All right. I want to thank everyone for coming this morning to the Oklahoma Department of Transportation's Transportation Research Day. One of the first things to talk about is the room set up the way we've got it. It's a little warm in here right now. We've requested that temperature be adjusted somewhat, so hopefully that'll be cooling off somewhat for everyone. The first speaker that we're going to bring up today, I would like to go ahead and introduce. Director Mike Patterson of the Oklahoma Department of Transportation. Mike has been the director for about 18 months now, and he has had an extremely large challenge because of our aging workforce and some of the transitions that we've had at the department. Mike has really had to lead us through a lot of change at the department. One of the things that we've had is all the members on senior staff have changed over into new positions at a minimum since Director Patterson has taken over the lead at the department. And so that's very challenging for the senior leadership to be turned over like that. And then once that occurred, we're starting to look at a lot of the field divisions and our central office divisions changing over as well because, once again, because of the aging population that we've got at ODOT. We've already replaced 5 division heads within ODOT during that last 18 months. And it looks like we're going to have, just within the next few months, another 6 division heads turn over at ODOT. So Mike's really got a large challenge in front of him as far as providing that leadership, that guidance for ODOT, and maintaining the focus that we've got. We've had a great focus. Secretary Ridley, when he was director, had focused us on the bridge program, the structurally deficient bridges, and eliminating those. We remain focused on those today. And so Mike is going to talk to us a little bit about the transportation program and perhaps how research can help us achieve our goals on that. So I'd like to go ahead and introduce Director Mike Patterson.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. I'm not sure it all came about because I became director, but I appreciate you talking about an aging workforce because we are all getting older. Before I talk, though, one of the guys that John was referring to is Reynolds Tony, sitting back here in the center at this back table. This will be the last meeting, I guess, that Reynolds is going to attend here because he's decided that he's going to retire as well. Reynolds, I just want to publicly thank you for all that you've done for ODOT over the years and for the state of Oklahoma and what you've contributed to a safe and efficient transportation system. Thank you very much. Well, as John talked about, we have had significant change at the agency because of the aging workforce. We've had several people retire. And it's been a situation that's kind of bittersweet, if you will. Losing the talent, the years of experience that we have, and quite frankly, my good friends have gone to a consulting firm. Some of them have just gone home to enjoy retirement. And we always are appreciative of what they gave us and the time they gave us, but always proud of them that they were able to retire when they could. And we're looking, as John said, at some division heads that are about to retire between now and the first of the year, Reynolds being among that group. And it's, again, it's bittersweet because that is so much institutional knowledge that's walking out the door. But the good thing is we have a lot of people, a lot of good people at ODOT that continue to work there. They have grown up in the organization. Many of our employees have been there 30-plus years. So there's a lot of institutional knowledge still there. We're very focused. I often use the term laser-focused on our mission, which is to provide a safe, effective, and economical transportation system. I like to throw in efficient occasionally. But we are very focused on that. And our first task at hand was when we began receiving additional funding from the legislature in the mid-2000s, 2005, was to focus on our bridge problem. At the time of our 6,800 bridges on the system, 1,168 of those were structurally deficient. 1,168. The last report that we turned in last December, we were down to 468. Now, you guys know this better than I do. When you go inspect a bridge, what looks to be a good bridge today may be a structurally deficient bridge tomorrow. So for us to get down to our goal of less than 1% structurally deficient bridges by 2020, we have to go after more than just the bridges sequentially. It's not 1,168 divided by 12. You have to take on even more because our aging bridge problem as well. We have a significant number of bridges that are over 80 years old. Not that they become structurally deficient, but through a very long time or very long duration, if you will, of underfunding of ODOT, where we couldn't do maintenance on bridges, we find that our bridges are in bad shape. And so we have this new term, and a term that I don't think they teach it at the universities, but we invented it kind of at ODOT. It's called at-risk bridges. Those at-risk bridges are those bridges that are about to become structurally deficient, and our division engineers fight tooth and nail to keep those things off the structurally deficient bridge list. So not only are we taking care of the structurally deficient bridges, we're also attacking the at-risk bridges to do what we can for those. And then we have those functionally obsolete bridges. For you that don't know, a functionally obsolete bridge is one that is narrower than the roadway it serves. So that's the one as you're driving on a two-lane highway and you look on the other side of the bridge and there's a semi, and you're going to make a decision. Am I going to meet the semi halfway, or am I just going to let him have the bridge? That's the bridge. That's a real safety concern. It might be structurally sound, but it's a safety concern. And because safety is the first thing in our mission statement, we remain focused on even those types of bridges. In coming years, our 8-year plan will naturally swing away from bridges. We'll always have bridges to do, but not to the concentrated effort that we've seen recently. So if you looked at our 8-year plan today, our new one that we just adopted, you would see in the out years we're going to have more surfacing projects, more safety projects, providing shoulders, paved shoulders on narrow two-lane highways. Those types of projects, because that's really the natural progression. All of that, of course, is incumbent on a steady funding of both state and federal dollars. We feel like right now the state dollars are, where they need to be. We did have a challenge last legislative session where there was an effort, a piece of legislation that started through the process that would have reduced our funding and made an effect on our 8-year plan to the tune of about $440 million, which is significant. So when that came about, we didn't have to do much. The agricultural community came out, the rural legislators came out against the bill because they see it as an affront to good transportation. Depending on what day it is and who takes the poll and who participates in the poll, education or transportation is the #1 priority in the state. So and that wasn't always the case. There were years in which transportation was way down in the polls. But in the mid-2000s, again, that changed. The legislative attitude changed, and transportation became a priority of the state. One of the things that we're often asked to do, often meaning every day, is to do it better, faster, cheaper. And we always strive to do that. And the only way we can get that done is through innovative ideas that you guys bring to the table through your research. I was thinking about this in anticipation of being with you this morning. There's really, in my mind, 2 kinds of research. There's the research that I do at my house, where I research whether or not I can fix this problem at my house, and I just keep trying until it works, and then it becomes the way I do it from then on. And I know our maintenance crews do that on the side of the highway as well. They keep working on things, and then it becomes the standard, and then they spread that around the rest of ODOT and possibly to other DOTs. But then there's the long-lasting research, the more in-depth research, and that's what you guys do. That's what you bring to the table. And ODOT's always been committed to supporting that kind of research, because we need that kind of research. We need research in our finance, the way we finance projects, the way we build projects, the way we design projects. So to have this type of forum where you guys get together, present your ideas through the poster program is very important for a long-lasting research opportunity, both locally and at the national level. Of course, recently being a couple of years ago, the Southern Plains Transportation Center came about. And Dr. Zaman and I were talking earlier, one of the things that I think has been very productive and will prove to be very beneficial for the center is a simple communication. If you guys need to get a hold of this document. He calls it a newsletter. It feels like a book to me, but he calls it a newsletter. One of the challenges that I've seen in terms of research is getting the word out. Helping me as a DOT chief executive officer to understand where my dollars are going, but you guys are doing great work. You need to talk about it. It needs to be not only published amongst yourselves, it needs to be shared with the rest of the world, the community at large, so that they understand the importance of research dollars. We often talk about and often hear about medical research and what that means. That means a lot to me, because the older I get, the longer I'll live. Because medical research is making tremendous breakthroughs, but you guys are too. You don't talk about it. It just happens. But the thing that we're going to do at ODOT is implement some of the ideas. I think that's one of the bigger gaps in the research program, is at times we come up with good ideas and we never give them a try. We never put them into effective locations where we can really test them out. So we're going to move in that direction. There's got to be more implementation. And that's just not my idea. I hear that from my counterparts all across the country. We don't mind, in fact, enjoy the opportunity to fund additional research, let you guys come up with the good ideas, but we need to benefit from them. We need to take the next step and use them as best we can. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you this morning. I know Dean Tukowski's following me, I think, and John's going to introduce him in just a second. The relationship that we have between ODOT and our universities is very strong, and we intend on maintaining that strength of relationship. That's the only way that we will succeed in the research front, in the engineering front. The universities are providing the engineers for ODOT in the consulting community. So we are going to maintain those good relationships we have with the universities. Again, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for letting me be here. As I told Dr. Samad earlier, I always learn something when I get next to you guys. So I appreciate that opportunity every chance I get. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Patterson. Next up, I would like to have Dean Tukowski of the College of Engineering, Architecture, and Technology from Oklahoma State University come up and say a few words to us.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you, John and Mike, and Gary is in the back here. Tom Landers. We're all partners in this transportation, not just the transportation center, but the infrastructure of our state and our region. We spent a little time with Secretary Fox last week at the behest of Gary Ridley, talking about how energy and commerce and manufacturing and all of these things are impacted by what we do. And I was reminded recently by the Texas DOT that a little research project which they invested in some 30 years ago has resulted in more than $100 million in savings in their state over the time, and that doesn't count life cycle improvements. And this research was done by someone who's now a professor at Purdue, a dean at Oklahoma State, contractors in Texas and Houston, Dallas, and people who now work for the California DOT. This group of graduate students, made an impact. That research cost about $750,000 over a 5-year period. It funded about 5 or 6 graduate students and has saved their state more than $100 million. This is where research pays off. It was translated and implemented, conducted through a partnership with a DOT and a university to actually deliver something. And that delivery has also allowed Texas to have a long life infrastructure, and now they do all of their bridges and pavements and so forth based on long life. And we're doing that here in Oklahoma now too. There's other projects that I talk about that 21 states joined into a pool fund study just a few years ago to look at how we could reduce the amount of cracking and problems in pavements across the country. At the end, they had invested about $1.8 million. 10 fully implemented projects in 10 different states, and every one of those projects came in under budget. In the initial 10 outlays, they made up all the money those states paid to actually build the projects. This kind of research to translation to implementation, this is what Mike is talking about. And this is what I think Tom and we really believe. As deans, we like nothing better than to see our engineering research go out and actually have an impact. I remind my faculty, Tyler and others, that we're engineers. While some basic science has to be done to get to where we want to go, what really happens in transportation research is we're taking the knowledge of science and so forth and implementing it on a problem that hasn't yet been solved. That's the engineering component. We want to see that translation happen every day, and we want to be able to make more resources available to the DOT so they can continue to upgrade our infrastructure. The transportation bill that's ahead of Congress right now is key to that. We have to know that they're going to fund research on an ongoing basis. The partnership that we have with OU and the DOT, Langston, and other states all make a difference, and they all change the way that we operate and the way that we extend the life of our infrastructure. Remember that the Department of Transportation isn't just highways. It's also bridges, it's rails, it's pipeline, it's all of these things contribute. The more trucks we get off the road, the more stuff we put on a rail. The more stuff we take off a rail, the more we put in a pipeline. All of this stuff is transportation. And we need safe travel for our cars, people to get to and from work. This is manufacturing. The success of all of our manufacturing, and Dana Weber, who was at the meeting last week, said, 5 years ago it took 1 day for her to get her steel from Tulsa to market. Now it takes 2. The change in regulation, congestion, tolls, all these kinds of things impact. So that means that she can't get as much product to market, and it costs more. So her plea to the Secretary was, fund research, fund transportation, so that we can get back to a place where we have free-flowing transportation systems. For those of students out here, I want you to actually think about, what is your impact going to be in your generation? What are you going to do that's going to change the way we think of research and the way we think of implementing solutions, engineered solutions to solve real problems? This is kind of the cool thing you get to do in your life. You get to be an old guy like me, and you get to look back at it and say, it's not so bad. All right? So I want you to think about that. For the DOT, John's talking about all you people are too old, and you're all going to retire, and, pretty soon there's just going to be a bunch of high schoolers running the place. I don't think that's the case. I think we have a lot of talent rising. It is a lot younger. The fact is, people, because of the recession, stayed longer because it was necessary. But this creates a huge gap of experience in the DOTs. And as young leaders rise, these people right here, they have an opportunity to actually make a change, to see the kinds of things, to hire a new generation, people who think, again, about what research you're going to implement, how are you going to get it done. All of these things make a difference. Every generation brings something new to the job. And I think that's maybe the most important thing you'll see in your life, is that you don't have to do the same things the same way people did them before. But the fact is, the people who did them before did them with the paradigms that they lived with. Knowledge doubles in the world right now every 2 years. Every 2 years. When I started, or John started, or Mike started in their career, knowledge in the world doubled every 25 years. So the speed at which the world is working plays into the hands of the young people taking over the agency. You can make a difference. And so that, I leave you with that thought, is that get up, go and run, go do great things. All right? And so the transportation infrastructure is one area where we need that help. All right, thank you very much.
Some very good inspirational words there. Of course, I'm getting called old, though. Our next speaker is Dean Landers from the University of Oklahoma.
Thank you, John. And let me add my voice of welcome to each one of you. It's so great to see such a terrific turnout. And as we reflect back on Research Day, it's the beginnings not too many years ago, what a success it has become, and it is because of you. I want to add my thanks to Secretary Ridley and for Executive Director Thompson, Patterson, for their support of research and education in the state of Oklahoma and the transportation sector. I want to also thank my colleague Paul Tucholsky, and I believe you all would agree we are so fortunate to have a transportation guy as the leader of engineering education at our state's great land-grant university. I'm enjoying working with him. And you've already seen how closely our universities here work together. But at that event, the roundtable in Tulsa last week with Senator Inhofe and Secretary Fox, it was so evident to those national leaders how much we work together. And I want to just pause for a moment to acknowledge that a guy named Gorman Gilbert came to Oklahoma in the early 2000s at Oklahoma State University. He reached out to me personally at OU, and that was, at least in this era, the beginning of this very rich and fruitful collaboration. We've heard a lot about the aging workforce, and I too am part of that, so I want to provide a little bit of balance and say how excited I am, especially as an educator, but also as part of the transportation community, to see these bright, up-and-coming young talents that will be on the program today speaking about very important issues and very important work in transportation technology. Not possible to mention everybody, but Tyler Lay and Royce Floyd are obvious examples that I think you'll be very impressed by what they have to say. And then just a word about the Southern Plains Transportation Center. I want to thank Dr. Zaman and all of the staff of the Transportation Center for their efforts to organize what is now a very successful research day. So the opportunity to speak to Senator Inhofe and the Secretary Fox last week about transportation in Oklahoma. We also could speak to them and thanks for their leadership in the University Transportation Centers program at the national level. We're very fortunate to have, based here in Oklahoma, the Federal Region 6, which is a 5-state area regional transportation center. This is very appropriate because in Oklahoma, we are at a intermodal transfer throughput location that's a center for national north-south and east-west commerce. We have chosen as the theme for this center a theme that really reflects state of Oklahoma, where we have seasonal extremes of temperature and other weather, and also on an occasional basis, very severe weather. So that's just a microcosm of what, if you look at Region 6, we have such a wide range of climate extremes from Gulf Coast tropical to Rocky Mountain arid, which creates real challenges for our transportation systems and infrastructure, both safety and state of good repair. So you'll be hearing more from other people who are involved in the Southern Plains Transportation Center on our program today, and I look forward to enjoying it. Thank you.
Want to thank this morning's speakers. You guys did a wonderful job, but we are already behind, so I'm going to keep my comments here very short in opening up this technical session. I want to go ahead and take the opportunity right now before we get started and deep into this program to thank some of the people that have been involved. Special thanks go out to Ron Kerb, Brian Hurst, Gary Hook, and Brian Cooper of the Materials and Research Division. Those guys work every year to help get this set up. Also, Terry Holly of Strategic Asset and Performance Management, Doctors Zaman and Hagen of the SPTC, as well as Sonia Brindle. And we have some new folks involved this year, our librarians. The ODOT Research Library has been transferred down to the University of Oklahoma for work with SPTC and kind of joining those efforts. And we have 2 new librarians associated with that, and they are the ones that help check you in out there, Brianne Zimmerman and Kelsey Chofie. And I'd like to go ahead and thank them for all their good work. I'd like to thank our video folks for setting up and taping this so that we'll all have access to this information afterwards. Just to give you a quick rundown on the program and the attendees here, just so you can understand kind of what we're looking at. We've had 205 people that pre-registered. Of those, academia is 33, private industry is 45, government agencies are 64, students 41. That's a great number that we've got that much participation from the students out there, because as you've heard, you guys are our future. You are the new ideas coming in that will help the old guys like me move forward as I step aside and turn it over to you. And then 22 of you didn't want to recognize who you were with or what you were. Anyway, having said all that, I'll go ahead and try and get us moving and get us a little closer back on schedule.